What's up, you freaking geniuses? So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to find a polynomial function when you're given the zeros, right? So here, the zeros that we are given are 0, -2, and 4. So in order to create a polynomial function from this, the first thing that we have to do is write a function. So we're going to say that f of x is equal to, and now however many zeros you have, that's how many parentheses you're going to write. So we have 3 zeros right here, so we're going to put 3 sets of parentheses. All right, 1, 2, and 3. All right, now what goes inside of these parentheses? Well, first of all, you're going to write x minus in all of them. All right, so x minus, and x minus. Now in these empty spots, we're going to put our zeros. So 0, -2, and 4, right? So 0, -2, and 4. Okay, great. So now that we have our sets of parentheses, let's simplify each one if we can. So here, this is all going to be equal to, first of all, x minus 0 is equal to just x, right? So we're going to have just an x right here. And then here we have x minus -2, which is the same thing as x plus 2, right? So we can write that as x plus 2. And then lastly, x minus 4, that's already simplified, right? Can't simplify that anymore, so we'll just leave that as x minus 4. Okay, so now the last thing we have to do is simply multiply this all together. So let's bring down this x right here, and let's multiply these two binomials together first, right? We could just FOIL. So then here we're going to get, let's see, x squared, and then x times -4 is -4x. Here 2x times x is positive 2x, and then positive 2 times -4 is -8. All right, so then here this is going to be equal to, we still have that x out here, and then let's simplify what's in here. So we have x squared, and -4x plus 2x, that's equal to -2x, and -8. Okay, and we'll scroll down a little bit here. So now lastly, we can finally distribute this x into these parentheses. So x times x squared is equal to x cubed. X times -2x is equal to -2x squared. And then x times -8 is -8x. All right, so that's as simplified as we can write this function. So there's our answer. All right, here is our last example. So this time the zeros that we're given are 4 plus √3 and 4 minus √3. All right, so how many zeros do we have? We have 2 zeros, right? This one and this one. All right, so then for our function, we're going to say f of x is equal to, and then we're going to put 2 sets of parentheses, right? Because we have 2 different zeros. And in each one, we're going to say x minus and x minus. And then here, we're going to write our zeros. So first of all, we have 4 plus √3, and over here we have 4 minus √3. Okay, now here there's nothing that we can combine or simplify. So this is already kind of as simplified as we can write it. So in this case, now we can just skip to the multiplying together, right? So then here we're going to say f of x is equal to, and then here we have 3 terms in each set of parentheses. We have this x term, this -4, and this positive √3, right? Same thing over here, x, -4, and -3. Okay, so this works similarly to FOILing. The only difference is we basically have 3 terms instead of 2, right? But it still, like I said, works the same way. So we're going to say, first of all, x times x, that's equal to x squared, and then we're going to say x times -4, so that's equal to -4x. And then lastly, we have x times -√3, which is equal to -√3x. Great, now let's go to the next term. So next we have -4, right? So now we'll say -4 times x, which is -4x, and then we're going to say -4 times -4, which is positive 16, and then we'll say -4 times -√3, which is positive 4√3. Great, and let's scoot this over a little bit so we have room for this last one. So now, lastly, we just have this √3. So √3 times x is equal to positive √3x, and then we have √3 times -4, which is -4√3. And then lastly, we have √3 times √3, and that's equal to simply 3. Okay, and if that doesn't make sense, remember whenever you multiply a radical by itself, so here I'm saying the root 3 times root 3 is equal to just 3, right? And a simple way that we can prove that to ourselves is let's use a slightly different number, square root of 4, all right? So here, let's say the square root of 4 times the square root of 4 is equal to just 4. So what is the square root of 4? Well, that's just equal to 2, right? So then this is actually equal to 2, and the square root of 4, again, is just equal to 2. And we know that 2 times 2 is equal to 4. Okay, so again, that's how we know that the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is equal to just 3. All right, but as you can see, one is positive and one is negative, so a positive times a negative is a negative, right? So here we have negative 3, or minus 3. All right, so now that was the last term, and we can close our parentheses. All right, so now the last thing that we have to do is simply combine like terms, right? So finally, we'll get that our function is equal to, let's see, this looks like it's the only x squared term, so we're done with those. And then let's see, now we have x terms, so here we have negative 4x, and we have negative 4x, and it looks like those are the only two, right? So negative 4 minus 4 is equal to negative 8. So here we're going to have negative 8x. And then next we have negative root 3x. Do we have any other root 3x's? Yes, we do. We have a positive root 3x right here, right? So a negative and a positive, those are going to cancel out. And then here we have a positive 16, which is just a regular number, and then here we have a negative 3, right? So 16 minus 3 is equal to 13, right? Positive 13. And then lastly, we have this positive 4 root 3 and a negative 4 root 3, so those cancel out as well, all right? So we simplified everything down, so this would be our final answer. Boom. So if you found the video helpful, make sure to leave a thumbs up down below, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments section below.